Hey,
Hey, sorry about the
how's it
times,
going?
dude. Oh, it's good.
You hearing me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry again about the times, dude. It's my bad.
Oh, no problem. It's weird because we're only one state over, and yet
Right.
timing is different, but it's
Um.
all good.
So I've I've got this. I got this kind of laid out here. Um. Basically, we kind of just intro it as kind of like our the bit that we're doing here. Um.
Yeah.
And I think we'll just kind of overview. Obviously, just being the offense clearly isn't working. The numbers
Yeah.
aren't the points aren't there, the yards aren't, like, nothing's working.
Yeah. And, it's halfway through the season. We're already 8 games through.
Right.
Exceed expectations? No. Did it meet expectations? No. It's gone fall short of expectations. To be honest with you, the Packers offensively, I'll just say this right now, they're in the top 20 in only one category.
Mm-hmm.
That's fourth down conversions. And they're 10th. That's it.
And after seeing the fourth down play yesterday, I'm surprised.
Yeah. Good news is they're playing the Dolphins next week.
Exactly.
And
That's
that's really about it. And Miami is mediocre on both sides of the ball. So we can talk about that. We can talk about Tramon Williams. What do you think about his debut? Because he had some good and bad. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, it's his first time, so he has time to improve. Um, then just overall state of the union again. Talk about grades. Like we're taking them to court. You still want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
cool.
think so. So, get my timer ready. So yeah, I'll just kind of lead us into it, and we'll kind of, I think we'll, like, one by one, kind of hit on, like, some of the main ones, like, obviously McCarthy. Um, and then, like, just kind of down the line, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers. Um,
And did you get the Twitter message from Andy?
yeah, of them signing that safety.
I looked him up, dude. This is just depth. Like, come on. Did you look up what this guy's history is?
I didn't, but I saw, like, it was, it's just like a free agent, nobody, like a guy that I've never heard of before. I was
Dude,
like, okay, this is just
he's been on 3 teams this year.
yeah,
And he's been on 5 teams the last 2 years.
yeah. I'm not too impressed by it. It's just
Yeah,
it's literally,
not
it's just another body to throw in there because you cut that punter.
exactly.
Which I want an explanation. I just want an explanation about that. That
Yeah.
whole, the signing a second punter for basically 3 days.
That's a waste of a hotel room.
Yeah, exactly. I just imagine, like, those old ladies they have in there, like, the putting the names on the jerseys. Just, they finish making up his and they cut him. All right. Well,
Yeah. Just
all
throw
right,
it out there and we can just play
yeah,
with it as it goes.
yeah. I think we'll,
Thank
like,
God we're not live. I love that we're not live,
right,
not as much.
exactly. So I think, like, the first part, the bulk of it will just be like the offense, and then we wrap that up, and we can kind of hit on, um, like what you were saying, like the defensive side of things. Tremont,
Let me talk
um,
about the Patriots.
Breland. Since that was
He had
his
a rough
first game,
afternoon.
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, so we can talk a little about the game, and also I want to talk about the creativity on the Patriots, how creative they are, and the
Yeah,
Packers. When was the last time you saw the Packers won a gadget play?
I, I mean, I always just think, like, they're like, oh well, Julian Edelman played quarterback in college. I'm like, well, Randall Cobb played quarterback in college. Why the hell aren't we doing anything like that with him?
Oh yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been, I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I remember them running something, you know, creative like that. All right. Well, you ready to jump in?
Yep.
Cool. Welcome in, everybody. We are here at the Pack-A-Day Court. That's right. Chris and I are taking this Packers offense to the courtroom. It is litigation time. Your host on the Pack-A-Day podcast today, Dan Connick, and my partner in the courtroom today, I should say, Chris Schimmel. Chris, it was another rough game that we had to sit through and watch this past week against the New England Patriots, and I think you and I both would agree that the offense, again, one more time, the downfall of this Packers team, which is something that you normally would never say with an Aaron Rodgers-led team. But there it is again. We're at this position that the Packers and this offense have given them no opportunity, really, to win games like this.
Yeah, and I love taking them to court. The law firm of Kotnick and Schimmel.
Yeah, the double K.
It's another. It's just another heartbreaking loss that they were in it. They had plenty of opportunities to win it, and it just slipped out of their fingers once again. And this happens from time to time to every great team. But when it becomes repetitive, it shows that your team isn't fully disciplined, and I feel like that's coaching. This happens way too often.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I think that is why Mike McCarthy is listed as our main defendant in this courtroom case today. Because, like I said, it came to me just randomly thinking about it today. Is Mike McCarthy is killing the offense. Who's killing this offense? I mean, there's so much potential here that you can't be giving this kind of output offensively, ranking 19th in points overall, 20th in rushing. You can't have this kind of potentially these players on the team and have this kind of output without some kind of huge glaring blame. And so I think today that's what we want to do. Take these guys to court. Who is to blame for this Packers offense? And I think we start in the most obvious place, and probably who gets most of this blame is the head coach of Mike McCarthy. And I don't mean to, beat a dead horse here, but I mean, we're at the point now that every single week this has to be a talking point, because it just seems like there's more and different ways that maybe not that he shows off his ability or lack of creativity, but you kind of see more and more different options or different things that point out those errors. Like you were kind of talking about off air, the Patriots and all of those new little wrinkles and gadget plays. When's the last time the Packers have run anything like that?
Yeah, and this whole staleness and no creativity with Mike McCarthy, this has been a conversation, a topic for a long time. Remember going back to 2015 when the Packers offense was struggling, Rodgers went how many games with a passer rating below 100, and the Packers were, breaking the cardinal sin of football, which is they were boring to watch. And this has been going on for a while now. And if you take a look, going back to 2017, the Packers are 10-13-1. 6 of those 10 wins needed a fourth quarter comeback. 8 of those losses were by 9 points or more. And over that time period, they're 18th in points and 18th in yards per play. McCarthy's supposed to be this offensive guru, this offensive genius. And yet you have Aaron Rodgers, probably the best quarterback in the league today. Devontae Adams is emerging as one of the best receivers. Scantling is emerging as finally a good deep threat for the Packers. And, he had another great breakout game. And then, of course, St. Brown has some maturing to do. And add in Jimmy Graham and Aaron Jones. You think, what's the problem here? You have it on paper. What's going on?
Yeah, and I think if we're back to our courtroom, if we're putting in evidence to the staleness of this offense, and it's something that's really kind of been brought up recently in the past couple of games, is how many times can this team run a screen pass on a crucial second or third down play. I was
Oh yeah,
screaming on a third and
for
goal.
their opening drive, third and goal, and it was almost like, all right, get the field goal unit ready, even before the play was even
Yeah.
called. We're just going to check it down. We'll regroup on the sidelines and talk it over. No. You don't do that during the game. You're supposed to become absolutely prepared for every single situation against this team. Because against the Patriots, there's no way. You know how teams always say, "Oh, well, we're just focusing on next week's opponent." Well, come on, they had this game marked on their calendars as a big game, and for that to happen is that, once again, that's on coaching. So that's another thing on Mike McCarthy.
And then also, I mean, on top of it too, just the lack of creativity kind of gets doubled up when there's just a clear misuse of your talent on this team.
I'm glad you brought that up because, the Patriots are without Gronk and they're without Sony Michel, and they still played well. Of course, going into the fourth quarter, it was tied at 17, and, it really wasn't a slugfest that everyone thought it was going to be. But the Patriots were still doing whatever they could to move the ball. And, Tom Brady even said the Packers looked like they had to fight for every single yard they had to get. And it really looked that way. Well, the Patriots at times made it look easy. But, of course, Brady once threw 7 straight incompletions. So he had his moments too. But at the same time, it didn't seem like that at the end of the game when it mattered most. And I look at the Packers and I see, their machine, their car requires premium gas in order to run. The Patriots, they just need regular gas and they'll have just as much, if not more, horsepower and torque. And I feel and the problem though is I feel that Packers have some premium players and they're not using them correctly. It's like they have this great automobile, this great car with great horsepower, but McCarthy doesn't know how to drive stick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just jerking all around.
Yeah, it's like here's your Ferrari to go drive. Oh, I don't know how to drive stick. Well, just learn it as you go. Blow an engine or two. It's so frustrating.
Well, and you bring up that them running Cordell Patterson at running back, putting your best playmakers on the field, and you have a running back in Aaron Jones that can't even see time at running back because you've got this whole system. And then Mercedes Lewis, I keep jumping on his, bandwagon for getting more playing time and putting into the wrinkles.
And it's kind of crazy to think that he was actually Pro Football Focus's highest rated player for the Packers at that game. It's kind of, it's like you didn't even notice that he was almost on the field. And I love that you brought up Patterson because the Patriots have a history of using players like, he's a wide receiver, kick returner, put him in at running back. And, of course, Mike Vrabel, the coach of the Titans, he was a linebacker for him, but they put him in at tight end, and he caught a couple touchdowns. They even won in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then you look at, Troy Brown, an old wide receiver. They needed cornerback, so they put him at defensive back. They put the most talented players on the field, and they do whatever they can do to win. And the Packers don't do that. They're just not as creative.
Yeah, and on top of creativity, the thing that I think sticks out to me too is, and Andy kind of hit on this in his post-game recap yesterday, is just the absolute lack of chemistry and energy that you see in this team. And so, I mean, when you're running these plays that are very basic and they're not working, just the whole, it comes through the TV, the whole just, there's no energy behind this offense. And I think that falls at the feet of your head coach, is because, I mean, you've got to find some way to invigorate this team. You've got to do something. And that's your job as the head coach. And I think that the lack of energy and chemistry with this offense, some of it falls with Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get to him in just a second. But I mean, as a head coach, you've got to, it's obviously not working, and you haven't done something different to make it work. And I think that's the biggest crime of all, is you really haven't done anything to change this up.
Yeah. And if you listen to his press conference today, he doesn't even change. It doesn't even change the way he approaches the press conference. It's the same answers. Not only does he not change it on the field, but it's the same exact answers every single time you ask him a question. And, in some of these questions, it's like, I just want to ask him, you read the definition of insanity. Do the same thing over and over and expect a different results. You don't have the receiving core of 2011.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the Patriots, their playbook and the plays they run the last few years and compare what they did in 2010, 2011, it's different because they adapt, they change things. You know what I mean? That's why, I was watching it with my girlfriend's dad, and he said, the Packers need to find their identity. And I said, I can't stand it when people say they need to find their identity. You know why the Patriots are so good? Because they don't have an identity. They can change things up, play to play, drive to drive, game to game. That's why they're so hard to prepare for. If you have an identity, you're easier to game plan for.
It's a good point.
They can mix it up. One game, we'll throw it 45 times a game and we'll light you out. The next game, we'll run it 35 times and throw it only 25 times. They mix it up so you don't know what they're going to get. The Packers, it's
we're gonna run the ball, probably about 50% of the plays on the very first drive to try and establish the run. You're probably going to see one play action pass in that first drive. And then when it comes down to the last, little bit of it, if it's tight at all, McCarthy's going to clam up that gets very tight.
Yeah. I always tell people, it's not about finding it's not about finding an identity. Just finding an identity and being consistent are two different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and also what's crazy to think is that Aaron Jones had 14 carries against the Patriots. That's the most carries he's ever had in a game. And it didn't even feel like he had that much. I think.
Yeah. I would agree with you. It just seems like it all. I don't know if it. I think this is something you kind of mentioned. Is it something that he's not getting the touches, or that he's not making the most out of those touches, or is it just, are we so at this point, I don't want to say bitter, but are we, so just numb to the blandness of this offense that you really kind of miss some of those things? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
Yeah, and so I was going to say that's all at the feet of McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
So right now he better just plead guilty or no contest for this, because we have all this evidence in front of you, and he'd probably defend himself in court the way he answered those questions at the press conference today.
Oh, well, I mean, we didn't play a clean fourth quarter.
It comes back to the fundamentals. You need to execute. That's the play. We play a lot of football. In the National Football League. You just gotta execute. This is the play. Run it. If it doesn't work, then you need to work hard in practice. Like, dude,
but you got to mention pad level. You got to mention the pad level.
Yeah, it's like, do you really think Belichick says that? All right, It's like, okay, dude, all right, you're not very quick. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to scheme you open this way because you're too talented not to use you.
To be fair, you don't get much more out of Belichick's press conferences, but the difference is Belichick wins consistently. So he gets kind of the Greg Popovich treatment.
Yeah, plus, I love speaking of Belichick's press conferences, I think it was last season, he walks into the press conference and he's sitting there at the podium looking at everybody. And I literally was like trying to count, and it was like a solid 15, 20 seconds before somebody finally asked him the question, because everyone was so scared.
Yeah.
And McCarthy is the opposite. It's like, I can't wait to just throw a question at him right when he gets there,
Right. Well, you're afraid he's going to walk out after a minute and a half of his post-game press conference. So we've established our case against Mike McCarthy. That one's pretty clear. But obviously not all of the blame, or at least, there's other people involved here too. And I think we start at the second most.
Team sport.
Yes, team sport. So there's more going around. We start with Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback. Obviously not himself this year, but regardless of injury, there has been a few too many times that he has not looked himself. And by that, I mean some of the throws that I've seen him make this year just don't look Aaron Rodgers-esque. And
Right.
it kind of scares me.
And, it scares me. And then all of a sudden he'll hit, Jimmy Graham for the touchdown.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, is he going to be back? No. So even Rodgers has been very inconsistent. I'm not saying it can't come back. I don't think people are going to say, oh, well, Rodgers, is he going down,
right.
His rest of his career? It's like, trust me. Remember in the mid 2000s when Favre was playing terrible?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, look what happened at the end of the decade. He was lighting it up when he finally got better teammates and of course, new coach. He was better under McCarthy than under Sherman. And so I'm thinking, Rodgers can bounce back. He needs to adjust his game. Kind of like when Michael Jordan got older, he started really developing that fadeaway jump shot and changing his game. Rodgers is going to have to learn to do that. And I feel with Rodgers' confidence in himself, he's always going to believe, oh, I'm just going to break down the play, roll to my right, do all of this. He's always going to think he's going to be able to do that. But he's going to have to learn, get some tough love to say, learn to hit your check down more. The difference between Brady and Breeze and Rodgers is they take what the defense gives them. And Rodgers is more like, I'm going to take what I want when I want it.
Right.
And I feel that's going to get you into trouble at times.
Well, I mean, sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
So, you kind of hit the Jimmy Graham touchdown pass. I mean, even that one, the ball is just a smidge too late. And if Patrick Chung is able to get his arm up there just a little bit sooner, he probably makes that play. A play on a ball that Aaron Rodgers usually throws just a little bit better. That was the difference between him and everybody else with throws like that.
Yeah, and another play that just drove me nuts was, of course, after the defense made the great stand at the goal line against the Patriots, the Packers get the ball, they're backed up. It's third down, and eventually, Randall Cobb runs a deep route, and I'm thinking, why is Cobb running the deep route when you have Scantling or even Adams, slot receiver who's probably running the 4.7s right now, has lost a step? He runs the deep route, and yet Rodgers still overthrows him by like a solid 8-10 yards.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Like there's no way even Jordy in his prime could have jumped up and got that ball. And so, of course, that's number one, the play calling for McCarthy. And then two, Rodgers. And another play, another third down, it was 3rd and 4. And Rodgers, I think, ended up having to throw it away. But I remember thinking, all right, every receiver is 25 yards downfield. It's 3rd and 4. It's so frustrating to watch.
It is. And then
that a lot.
Right. Well, I mean, then that comes back again to McCarthy, and it's hard to watch Aaron Rodgers kind of struggle through this offense. And again, some of it is on him not making the reads, not making throws properly. Yeah. And I think if we're looking back at this in our courtroom setting, he's probably guilty of at least a little bit of this. But
definitely.
I think the charges against him are so small, and you take into account the
they're misdemeanors.
Right.
They're misdemeanors.
Right.
They're not first-degree homicide. At the same time, this proves how crucial it is for the coach quarterback to have a good relationship. It's crucial. Brady with Belichick, Montana and Walsh, Favre and Holmgren. And I feel that this Rodgers-McCarthy relationship's heading toward divorce.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems they've never had that kind of chemistry, it feels like, and now more so as the years have gone on. So I think Aaron Rodgers gets off for time served or anything else, maybe some community service.
Have a very, very light probation at most.
Yeah. Let's move to the wide receiving tight end core here. We'll kind of combine all of the this group here together as we kind of want to
Randall Cobb, take your seat.
Yeah, put him on the witness stand, because I think this is one of the more interesting ones about which way to kind of go with Randall Cobb, because he comes in five catches, only 24 yards out of this. I think that there's obviously a decline in his ability, and I think that it's obviously showing. But again, you have to kind of scheme around the player ability, don't you?
Absolutely. And it's, of those 5 catches, 4 of them were behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
What just shows you, it's almost just wide receiver screens with him.
Hmm.
It's like they don't even trust him to beat a guy in man-to-man coverage, which is why you scheme a player open, do some crossing routes, do some rubs, some picks. Because I can guarantee you, I always hate comparing with Belichick at him because, of course, Belichick can make everybody look good. I have
Right.
a feeling Belichick can make Cobb look younger again, because
Yeah.
Cobb's averaging only 9.9 yards per catch. That's tied for his career low tying last season. And the crazy part is with Cobb, he actually he's averaging 51.6 yards per game, which is going to be the highest since 2015, which shows you how poor he's been the last few seasons. He's on pace for only 516 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, right now he should be charged with stealing money.
Yeah, I would. I mean, you kind of hit on him having to beat man coverage, and not only man coverage in this game, but how many times did they show Jimmy Graham and Devontae Adams having those brackets, those double teams? That means that you are in single coverage every single time. And I know I just said about scheming guys open, but if you're in single coverage every time that they're lining up as in man defense, you've got to be able to find yourself to get open.
Especially when you used to be a stud.
Right.
And you're not going up against their top corners. Top corner, Stephon Gilmore, he's going to be on Devontae Adams all game.
Mm-hmm.
And the other good corner and safeties, they're going to be covering Jimmy Graham, which means you're going up against either mediocre or scrubs, and you got to take advantage of that. It's like with on defense, when you have your best pass rushers being double teamed, that means your other defenders are going to have to take advantage of going up against guys one-on-one and get to the quarterback. Same thing with Cobb, and he's failed miserably so far this year.
Yeah. So we're kind of running long. I want to jump. Let's get to Aaron Jones as our last defendant on the stand. A guy that you and I have really liked this year. We've
Still
been
do.
big Aaron, just still do.
Love him.
But found himself as the GOAT, and that's lowercase g, not the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady GOAT. This game with that fumble at the most crucial part of the game. Just as the offense seemed to finally be finding themselves in the second half there.
And not just that, but they were tied at 17, man. Tied at 17. They were in Patriots territory. Even if they had just kicked a field goal and taken the lead, would have been huge. So that was the defining moment of the game. And I would say to McCarthy, last year, Devontae Mays, how he had 2 straight carries and he fumbled on them.
Yeah.
On both of them. And McCarthy benched him and said, I lost confidence in him. He cannot do that with Aaron Jones.
No.
You cannot lose confidence in Aaron Jones over that fumble because he is too valuable. And right now, with the way your offense is sputtering, you need your most talented players on the field as often as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it, 14 carries in this game. That's the highest he's had at least this season. And I mean, outside of that fumble, he played a very good game.
Very good game. And what also a thing I saw was when they had him run out on some routes, he was man to man with linebackers all game. I'm surprised they didn't take more advantage of that.
I am too. I'm surprised there wasn't more. If you're running screenplays or something, why not try and get it to, a fast running back like that?
You think Jones would be like on the sidelines thinking, geez, look how they're using James White. I could do that.
Right. Very much so. But I think overall is that fumble aside, the season that he's had coming in to this halfway point of the season, you give credit for what he's been able to do with the minimal amount of time that McCarthy has been able to afford him in his mind. And so I think if Aaron Jones, I think, has been kind of the one net positive, really without any blemishes. Yeah, outside of the fumble this past week, he's been available every game that he's been able to. He produces every time that he gets the ball, and outside of that fumble, he really hasn't done anything to kind of lose confidence in anybody. So If anyone gets off scot-free, I think it's Aaron Jones.
Oh yeah, definitely. To me, this last game, Rodgers did not play that well, and let's also face it: the Patriots' defense have not been that outstanding this year. They've allowed 24 points or more in like what 5 or 6 games this year already,
Mm-hmm.
and the Packers score 17. The Packers need to take advantage, and Aaron Jones, he's so good at running between the tackles and running north and south instead of always running east and west. So he's such a versatile back that I feel they have no choice but to consistently play him. And with Ty Montgomery gone, they better keep playing him more and more. No excuses for that.
Agreed. So final verdict, I think Randall Cobb, I think, is seeing maybe a light sentence of some kind. Maybe
light sentence, maybe a house arrest.
House arrest. Yeah.
House arrest.
I think Aaron Rodgers gets the benefit of the doubt. His past, benefits to the court.
He has to do some. He has to do some community service, maybe.
Yeah, go
like community service with a fine.
Pick up some trash on the highway or something.
And
like
after
that.
after a year's worth, if he's better, the charges will be dropped.
Exactly, gets expunged off of his record. But overall, the court finding Mike McCarthy guilty of murder. Murder of this offense. Yes, we sentence you to life without parole of never coming back in the state of Wisconsin. We award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul, Mike McCarthy.
We will not. We sentence you to Cleveland. We sentence you to Cleveland. That is your punishment. You're going to be the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. That's where a lot of the Green Bay guys are there. You can have fun with Wolf, John Dorsey, all those guys. You're going to Cleveland.
Banish him to the outlands.
And you go from Aaron Rodgers to Baker Mayfield.
So as
and then of course you can then make up with Demarius Randall as well.
Oh yeah, think about that little reunion in the locker room.
Clean his house again, man.
So as we wrap up court here, we wanted to touch on just a few things defensively as well. The news coming down yesterday, Packers signing a free agent safety. A terrible podcast host that I don't have the name in front of me. But I mean, Chris, you had looked him up, and really is the name worth remembering?
Campbell? No, right. Actually, it is not. I looked him up. He's a fourth-year player out of Northwestern. He's played on a whopping 3 teams in 2018. That's this year, 3 teams. He was drafted by Cleveland. He was released after getting hurt. He was then signed by Houston in the practice squad, and then he was waived. Then he was claimed off by Dallas. He was waived a month later. He then signed with the Jets, was waived a month later on this November 2nd. The Packers got him today. He's the last 3 years, I think he's had 6 tackles, and that's about it. So this is really just providing depth with Kentrell Bryce, leaving the field with an injury.
Leaving the field and Whitehead being...
And then who knows if the NFL will punish Whitehead even more with a suspension for the slap to the face.
More egregious than any of the calls on Clay Matthews is what I said last night, in my opinion.
Yes. That slap was vicious.
Safety play, though, too. Tramon Williams sees times at safety this past week. Your thoughts on him?
Good and bad. The good, he made a great, I think it was James White, great tackle that would have been an easy touchdown off the side. The one play that's going to stick out is the Josh Gordon touchdown at the end of the game. That, 55-yarder?
Yeah.
But overall, long season, Tramon Williams is going to have to learn, adapt. Like, Charles Woodson adapted to playing safety when he was getting older. Williams is going to have to do it too. But which makes me ask you, do you think Clinton Dix could have performed better than Tramon did yesterday? I mean, 2 days ago.
I don't know if it actually matters, because I forget who I saw saying it, but if was a liability on the field at that level, then somebody else on a lower level, or someone you consider a lower level, isn't that much worse. You know what I mean?
And not only
So
that, but they get a fourth round pick and then don't have to overpay him.
exactly.
So it's a win-win. I'll give Tremont the benefit of the doubt. Josh Gordon is a great receiver. He's learning the new position. I feel he'll get nothing but better throughout the year. And he's going to have to with the safety depth they have right now. Whitehead cannot afford to get ejected again for the rest of the season. Kentrell Bryce, we'll see his injury. And then also, speaking of injury, during the press conference today, sorry, I'm switching a little bit back to offense, but Geronimo Allison possibly needing surgery on his groin is also pretty big.
That is big. But again,
it's offense.
No, yeah, but it's another opportunity for younger wide receivers to step up, which has been big this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of finish things up here. I want to remind you guys, as always, every single week to keep listening every single day as we get closer to the game in Miami. Thank God, finally back in the friendly confines of Lambeau Field, where the Packers have yet to lose a football game. Make sure that you're following us all week for episodes every single day. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Subscribe, rate, review us wherever you find us on your podcast listening apps. Make sure you follow Chris and I on Twitter as well, at Chris Schimmel, at DK all the way for myself. Chris, any final words as we wrap up today's episode?
Yep, I'm going to give you my statistic of the day.
We need imaging for that. Everyone else has imaging for stat of the day. We need something.
Imaging stat of the day? Oh. Well, right now, Aaron Rodgers has the highest passer rating in NFL history, 103.5. Well, 6 teams this year have a higher passer rating than that. 10 have a rating of over 100, and 16 over a rating of 95. Green Bay is 12th. So it seems like this whole passing league is getting easier for everybody else, but it's getting harder for Green Bay.
I mean, we're just running up the score on Mike McCarthy at this point now.
Oh yeah, this is beating a dead horse.
We're getting close to putting the needle.
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks again, everybody, for listening to today's episode. Hope you had fun with us. Let us know what you think on Twitter. And again, like I said, make sure you're following us throughout the rest of the week. And as always, even as dark as we might have been there a little bit, always go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.
That was really good.
That was really good. I don't feel bad. Sorry. It's sports. Yeah. Tough love.
Right.
I could have said a whole lot. We could have said a whole lot worse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So hopefully,
went easy on him.
Yeah. Oh, we definitely went easy on him because, of course, Andy said keep it PG.
Yeah.
Dude, we were on like satellite radio or something. We can say anything we wanted.
Oh, yeah.
We should have like a Pack-A-Day Uncast, like
uncensored after dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Goodicun should make McCarthy take laps after practice or something.
Do bear crawls up and down the field.
Also, one thing that's worrying me, Rodgers said that they need to learn to win on the road.
Yeah.
They're 0-4 on the road. That's the last time that happened was 2005 when they went 4-12. And the last time before that was 1989 was the last time before that.
And 2005, 4-12, that was the year they fired Mike Sherman.
Yep. They actually started that year 2-10. And then Favre threw 20 touchdowns to 29 interceptions. And everyone said Favre. Yeah, and everyone's saying Favre sucks. He's lost his step. Well, look what happened 2 years later, NFC Championship game. So I will always have faith in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's coaching staff before quarterback for me. Pretty much any situation. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, man. Good episode. It was good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, we need to think of something to be creative, like the whole chord sentencing thing. I like that, just to be a little creative, or else it's going to be like every other podcast.
It's right. It's gonna be every single week. It's somebody breaking down the offense, somebody breaking down the defense. What does next week look like? Preview this game.
By the way, look what I bought at Barnes and Noble.
Oh, nice.
The new Belichick biography.
Have you started reading it at all? I heard it. I heard it's like chock full of shit.
It is, and of course, he wrote in the beginning. Belichick refused to be interviewed, and he told all of his friends not to for them not to meet with me. But it is really interesting. The first, of course, the first chapters of the book are all about his ancestry and his parents and his grandparents, all that crap I don't care about.
Right. I want the juicy details.
Yeah, he was center in high school. How small kids must have been back then to be him to be center.
I know, right? It was
100. He was 165.
Game.
165-pound center. Like, are you out of your mind? Like,
he was also probably the kicker, and
Yeah, it's a good book. You should check it out. It was on sale too. It was 10% off. So
oh hell,
I think they're trying to get rid of it.
Nice. Yeah, I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go now watch Monday Night Football, Titans Cowboys.
Yeah,
Crappy
me too.
game, but I love
me too because I
football,
hate myself and have an addiction to football.
Yeah, well, Mike Vrabel, of course, the old Patriot linebacker. He's the head coach. I hope the Titans win. I always want the Cowboys to lose.
Fuck the Cowboys. I'd root for ISIS over the Cowboys.
Oh, by the way, did you see Stephen A. Smith and Michael Irvin?
Yeah, I did. It was fantastic.
Those guys are nuts. Like, who puts them on the same stage? Michael Irvin was sweating. I was like, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. So that guy comes out and like pats his forehead like he's a prize fighter.
Oh yeah, dude. That was something else.
I'd watch 3 hours of that over Tennessee Dallas football.
Oh. Yeah. Stephen A. Smith should be a play-by-play guy.
They need
That'd be pretty funny.
ESPN needs to have that, like one of their there's like those special feeds when you watch games.
Yeah.
You need to have the Stephen A. Smith feed.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Till we see each other again, man. Let me know if you ever just want to make another for fun or throw something out for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Always up for it.
Yeah.
Cool.
See ya.
Later, man.